Hey Jess,
Hi, Bree.
how's today?
Not too bad.
That's good. My day's been full of a bunch of stuff with the work. Thank God it's Thanksgiving week, so it's my last day working. I took the rest of the week off because I was just like, I deserve it.
Yeah, when you were texting me, I was like, you have the rest of the week off?
Yeah, I took it off because I have like PTO because I never use it. Like
hmm
I usually just take a longer lunch if I have an appointment or something or whatever. But I was like, nah, they're getting on my nerves. It was a lot going on last week with like people making mistakes and trying to blame other people. And
Mm.
I just, well, actually, last week was the final straw. But then today I was like, it confirmed I needed the rest of the week off.
So you're gonna have a nice long break.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. But speaking of mistakes at work, mistakes in life. It's a good correlation. Like literally the last 2 weeks, it's just been like issue after issue with some of my coworkers and well, specifically one. But she just keeps making mistakes on stuff and
hmm
it's like irritating me, but I'm having to remember to have grace because we all make mistakes.
hmm
So,
hmm
how fitting for today's episode because we are talking about regrets and mistakes in life.
Yeah. I went and looked up the definition of both of them just to
Mhm.
kind of like get a gist of what the difference means. So
That's
if you want me
good.
to read them.
Yeah, I'm curious to know.
Okay. Hold on a second here. Okay, so I just Googled it. But a mistake has an action or a judgment that is misguided or wrong. And
Mhm.
then a regret is to feel sad or repentant or disappointed over something. So
Hmm. Oh,
they
wow.
are a little different. I feel like
Yeah.
from the definitions, I feel like overall I probably have more like regrets.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think I probably have more regrets. I bet like overall, but I feel like mistakes are probably like more so things that I've just like done day to day. But
Mhm.
if I'm thinking like the bigger picture of life, I would probably say regrets and not just like feeling sad or but more so like something I would have done differently.
Right. When you say that, like, when you were reading off the definition, like, the first thing I think about was college. I do
Mhm.
have regrets about college and the way that I did it. I wish I would have done it differently, but, I mean, you only know that by experience, you know?
Mhm.
And,
What
like, both of
what
my hmm?
what would you have done?
I think I would've, like, first of all, just done something more, like, practical and vague. Instead
Mhm.
of trying to be like, "Oh, this is what I wanna do," and just doing, like, a specific major towards a specific career.
Mhm.
And then also, I feel like I would've taken college courses in high school, like, I had the option to do, but I was like, "Yeah, I'll just wait."
Mhm.
But I wish I would've did that, and also when it comes to, like, the finances with college, I wish I would've, like, known more, done more research, and I feel like a
Mhm.
lot of that comes with experience, like, you don't know until you experience it, but
Yeah. That's funny 'cause, college was one of mines too,
yeah.
and, but I was thinking, like, college-wise, was that I kinda wish that I would've taken a gap year
That
than
too.
going right into college, because I probably changed my major, like, 3 times,
Changed mines twice.
and I'm like, had I probably, like, just taken a year off and kind of maybe just worked a job, explored some things, kind of figured out what I was, like, really interested in, I probably
Mhm,
would not have had to change my major so many times,
mhm.
but, you know, I guess it just kinda comes with the territory of jumping right into college at 18.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I said. I told my parents I would be okay with my son taking a gap year before he actually started, and all the
Mhm.
things I didn't know, I would tell him because I feel like
Yeah.
it's a little different, like, my parents, they have their degrees, but they got them later in life. They didn't go, like, right after high school. They worked,
Mhm.
and then they went back to school, and with me doing it the opposite way, I learned so much, And so I feel like I would definitely tell my son, like, "If you wanna take that year, take that year."
Yeah.
Make sure, because a lot of people will be like, "Oh, they think they wanna do this," until they start doing it, and then it's like, "Ugh, I don't wanna do
Yeah.
this."
Yeah. I
So
I think I went from, like my first major was probably, like, biology, then I went to, like, something in media, then
mhm,
then I went back to something in medicine, then I ended up going to business, and so I was
mhm,
kinda, like, all over the place, and honestly, I don't even like, after graduating high school, I feel like the options were you either went to college or you joined the military.
mhm.
Like, there wasn't like, I
In
didn't feel like there
between.
wasn't any other option.
Mhm,
And I kinda, like, just went to college and forced myself to go to college because I kinda felt like that was what was expected of me, but I don't know, I don't even know if I did take that gap year, if I would've ended up in
and I think
college
that's the
with it.
fear, like, I feel like people want their kids to just go immediately so that they don't do that, like, be like, "Oh, I'll
Mhm.
go next year," and then they just end up never going.
Yeah.
So I can understand that, but I'll encourage a gap year
Mhm. Yeah, for
for
sure.
sure. Any other mistakes or, like, regrets that you have?
I was going to share, so I would probably say one of my most recent things that I would've done differently because I've kinda, like, talked to you about how, like, I started therapy this year,
Mhm.
and,
Yay, therapy, we love therapy.
we love therapy, but I honestly felt like so I had thought about it early on in the year, right? And I just kinda, like, thought about it, went, like, through the motions to sign up for it, didn't do it, kinda, like, scared myself out of it. And then I think I was kinda, like, forced into it because, like, it was just, like, one day, woke up in the middle of the night, I was, like, having these, like, crazy thoughts, was, like, kind of feeling, like, really anxious, didn't know what was going on or why my body was, like, reacting to whatever it was. And then I was just kinda like, I don't know what's going on, so let me just kinda, like, figure out reach out for help."
Mhm.
But that makes me think that, like, had I gone before it got so bad, would it have gotten so bad? You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And I feel like because like, everyone kinda, like, experiences disappointments, we're, like, all sometimes anxious and stuff sometimes, and I feel like I've just been able to kind of, like, cope and get through it and, like, just be okay,
yeah.
um, until I wasn't able to anymore, and so I'm
Mhm.
always thinking, like, had if I had of, like, gone before I really thought anything was wrong with me because you don't necessarily have to go to therapy just because, like,
Yeah,
something is wrong. Would it have gotten so bad, you know?
yeah. I think that's the biggest thing about having regrets and mistakes, because it's like, what if? Like, if I
Mhm.
didn't make that mistake or have that regret of that mistake, what would have happened differently?
Yeah, that's the
And I
hardest.
Yeah, and I think, like, for me, if I could think of another something that I, like, regret or I feel like is a mistake, I probably would say my dating choices.
Mhm.
I feel like I'm not gonna say I regret them,
Yeah.
I guess, but they were definitely mistakes, and I wish I would have known better. But the one thing I can say is it's definitely developed my character and it's taught me a lot. So when I tell you when I have my daughter, she ain't gonna she's gonna know everything there is to know, like, nothing is gonna be, like, a shock or nothing's gonna, you know what I'm saying? Because I feel like
Mhm.
with me and my dating history, I can spot a red flag like that, like,
Mhm.
just instantly, like, I just know.
Right.
And it could be the most subtle thing. I was watching a TikTok, like, I think it was last week, and this dude was talking about, he had said something about, like, if you have an ex and they, like, um, are always cheating, like, that says something about them, like, in their orientation, like, what they
Mhm.
prefer.
Uh-huh.
And I do agree with that, and I felt that way before, and then him saying that just kinda confirmed me, like, another guy saying that, and it's just, like, little things like that, like, you're with a cheater, and they're just like, "Oh, I just like to cheat." Like, no, you might be battling with your sexual orientation, and that's why you keep cheating because 'cause you're trying to make yourself think you like women and you don't. 'Cause, like, no one can tell me different. A man that is a habitual cheater like that,
Uh-huh.
you're struggling with yourself internally, like, you're insecure
Yeah.
or you don't know if you like women or men, and you're trying to force yourself to, like, feel like you just got it like that or to feel like you like women. Can't nobody tell me
Wow.
different. Like, I know. Can't nobody tell me different. Or, like, if you're dating a guy this is not, like, about dating, but if you're dating a guy and he talks about his ex a lot and, like or he talks bad about another female a lot, he likes that
Mhm.
female. Like, they're just trying to convince themselves that they don't like them, but they like that female.
'Cause they keep bringing them up.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like, ugh,
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I know the red flags. So I feel like that, like, those mistakes and I guess partially regrets, it's taught me a lot, and it's made me wiser, I feel like, in that aspect of life. But still, I feel like I probably could have gone without. But
Mhm.
that's one regret in life.
Do you think now though that you can kinda, like, spot red flags? Even though you can spot them, do you feel like it's easier, like, you can, just, like, let a person go fast even because you can spot them?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Because, like, once you see, like, "Oh, this is a red flag,"
Mhm.
then it's like, "Okay, I don't wanna go through anything that can come with that red flag." So, like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Which is weird because I feel like when I was younger, it was just kinda like, be done so quick. Like, the smallest thing that throws me off, like, I'm done. And then as
Mhm.
I matured, it was just kinda like, okay, certain things you have to know what your deal breakers are and what's like, that's just me being me."
Mhm.
But then now it's also, like, putting in the red flags because some things you could be like, "Oh, that's not a big deal," but then you realize, like, that was a red flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's like at the end of the day, it always teaches us something. It
Yeah,
can,
it
if we
can.
choose to
Yeah.
allow it to teach us. Because sometimes we can learn and we just, like we learn and then we go into another situation and we're just kinda we forget.
So do you feel
Or we
like
just choose not to apply
true.
what we've learned.
So do you feel like you have to have, like, a regret in order to learn a lesson about something?
No. I honestly don't think that you have to have a regret because, like even, like, taking it away from relationships, so back in I think it was either, like, 2021 during COVID, like, I started an online clothing store, right?
Mhm.
And I probably ran it for about a year or 2, and after running it, like, I learned more about business, but I also kinda learned that I did not wanna do that. And I also, like, was like, I don't want to even if I go into it again, I don't wanna run it the way that I ran it before. But I
Mhm.
don't necessarily, like, regret doing it, you know? Like, there was no
Yeah.
regrets in it and how I ran it that way and how it turned out. But if I were to do it again, it's just like, I know I won't approach it the same way.
Right. I get that.
So I don't think you have to have regrets to learn.
True, but, like okay, maybe not regrets, but, like, like, when you regret something, obviously, it was something traumatic or bad that
Mhm.
happened that made you regret it. So, like, maybe saying, like, do you feel like you have to I guess almost saying learn a lesson a hard way in order for it to not happen. So, I guess it doesn't have to be a regret, but
Do you have to learn it the hard way in order not to do it again?
mhm.
Or I think it depends on people's I think it could depend on the person,
Uh,
because
I guess.
like you said before, like, I don't know, I guess that's kind of like a hard question, like, do you have to learn the hard way to not do it again? Mm, I don't know. I don't know if I can say yes or no,
Yeah.
but I just kinda think, like, some people are just, like, stubborn people. You
Mhm.
know, and they kinda, like, have to have that, like, tough something traumatic has to happen for them to kinda learn the hard way, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. What do you think?
I think for me, in some cases, sad to say, in some cases,
Yeah.
yeah. But okay, that brings me to the thought because I feel like it don't have to be that traumatic. But then I saw this girl, right? She had committed a crime. I forgot the name of the crime. can't think of the name of the crime, but she committed a crime by buying a weapon for her ex
Mhm.
at the time, her boyfriend, and he couldn't buy it because I think he had, like, a record or whatever. So she bought it for
Mhm.
him. He ended up getting in trouble because he unalived somebody with the weapon that she bought. He unalived somebody with the weapon that she purchased for him to have because he couldn't.
Mhm.
And this was some years ago, and now she has to serve 3 years in federal prison because of that happened long ago. Like, I don't know why
Wow.
I don't know, like, too much into it, but just now it's catching up with her, and he basically snitched on her and was like, "She bought it for me," because 'cause they're not together no more, so he don't care. And she
Yeah.
has a little girl. I don't know how old her daughter is, but she looks like she's, like, 1, and it's just really sad. So I know she regrets that for sure.
Yeah.
But it's like, does something so extreme like that have to happen in order for people to, like, learn like, I know she learned her lesson, like, I'm not doing anything like that for a
Mhm.
boyfriend again, because she said she was at the time ride or die, but, like, in her age now, she would never do nothing like that, but
Maybe it does come with age. It could come with age and maturity. And
yeah.
then also, I think sometimes you can just kinda learn with things being close to you, you know?
Mhm.
'Cause I would like, if that was, like, your friend or you even, like, being able to see that, 'cause I didn't know anything about it, you would
Mhm.
kinda think twice if you were in that
Mhm.
situation.
Yeah.
So, in that way, it being close to home but I also do think that sometimes, like sometimes we just have to go through the mistake. Sometimes, like, there's just some things that we're not going to be able to escape. Like, we're gonna have to go through some of the mistakes, some of the regrets, just to, like, learn and to get whatever it is that we were supposed to get out of it. So, I mean, I think it's half and half. You can, and there's ways that you don't have to, but I don't think there's anyone that's gonna be able to escape not learning from having a regret or a mistake here and there.
Yeah, here and there, because I was just thinking some people do go through the same cycles and never learn, and it's like, "What the world?" And I'm not even trying to be funny. We love our baby mamas. I hate to say it, but I'm a baby mama. But there are some females who have, like, 6 and 7 kids
Mhm.
and were the baby mama the entire time, and it's like, I be thinking, like, "You didn't learn your lesson the first time?" Like, what is going on? I feel like some people don't take mistakes as lessons because you don't even have to regret it. Because of course, I don't regret my son, so I'm sure people don't
Mhm.
regret their kids, but it's like, you doing it in the manner you did it probably wasn't planned, I'm sure. So,
Yeah.
like, I don't understand people just not learning when it's, like, physical proof of certain things,
Mhm.
not learning the lesson in it.
Mhm.
How do you feel about, like, people repeating the same mistakes? Like, people that are in and out of jail, people and we know sometimes the system is how it is, and so people
Yeah.
fall back into it, but, like, outside of that, like, even just certain decisions people make constantly that are, like, the same mistakes over and over.
Mhm. I think that that comes down to the person that does not want personal growth. Because,
Mhm.
like, why are you doing that? Because at some point, we have to take responsibility for our actions. We have to take responsibility for the things that we're doing, and it's like, you're either okay with, like, being in a cycle of things going over and over again, and what is it, insanity? Doing the same thing
Yeah.
over and over again and expecting something different to happen. Like, I think
Mhm.
when it comes to that, people are either just, like, comfortable with how their life is, like, they're fine. They're not
Yeah.
bothered by it, or it's literally just insanity at that point.
Yeah. Literally. Because I think
Mhm,
about me, like, another regret I don't regret my son at all, like, I love him,
mhm,
thank God for him, but having a child, of course, without being married, doing what you do before being married, and
mhm,
then, like, my dad my not my dad, my son's dad is, like, in his life, he's active, he sees him every week,
mhm,
but I just definitely know like, a lot of people don't know we were engaged, that I couldn't do it. So and that's another thing, like, I don't know what it is about, like, me specifically. I just feel like I always have to, like, learn things the hard way, and I hate that about myself because 'cause I'm like, "Dang, you shoulda just learned it without having to go through certain things." But, like,
Yeah.
for me, like, all of that was a regret for sure, but not my son. But
Mhm.
I just feel like in that, like, I had to learn a lesson 'cause it was a lot that came with that. So, like, I had to learn a lesson, and if I didn't learn a lesson, I went through all that, and then I just went and did it again, that would be insanity. Like, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
People would be looking
Yeah.
at me sideways, like,
Yeah.
"Are you okay?" So, I feel like I grew a lot, like, my character grew a lot. Like, I used to have a hard time dealing with people that I didn't get along with, like, that I worked
Mhm.
with, or just, like, I experienced, like, I just wouldn't talk to them. If I didn't
Yeah.
like you or, like, I just saw something about you that I was like, "Ew, I don't like that," I just wouldn't talk to you. And anybody who knows me knows that I just will not talk to people. But I can't do that with him, like, because 'cause we're raising a child. So I feel like going through this situation, I had to learn how to be more mature and
Mhm.
be able to deal with people that I don't necessarily get along with or people that I don't necessarily like the way they do things. You know,
Yeah.
like, for instance, today, he was supposed to get my son today. He couldn't because of work. Understandable, okay. I kept him longer. Um, and then he was supposed to get him at a specific time, but ended up getting him almost 40 minutes after that time. I didn't say a word, Jessica. I was so proud of myself. I didn't say a word. I was just like, "Okay." I was waiting in the parking lot, waiting for him to come get him. I waited the entire time, played with my son, and I just like, that for me is growth
Mhm.
because I normally would've just, like, I would've went off. Like, "Are you serious?" But being able to, like, give grace, recognize, like, some things are probably out of his control. I don't know how his day's going. He's probably already having a bad day, whatever. Imma just
Mhm.
let it go. So, this regret of the relationship, not my baby, but the relationship, has really made me grow up and mature in, like, the way I deal with people that are, like, difficult to deal with.
Mhm.
So I feel like, yeah, regrets and mistakes, you should learn a lesson.
Yeah, I feel like they're always opportunities. Like, there are opportunities for us to grow and for us to learn, but it's, like, up to us to make the decision if we are going to do that or not. And
Yeah.
I think that I mean, we can see that there's some people that choose to go the way of not learning from their mistakes and their regrets, and then there's others um, that do. So it's just all a part of life, really, I think.
How do you, like, cope with regrets? Because you said you have some regrets, so how do you cope with them?
Honestly, I try not to dwell too much on the past. And especially, like, when you are someone that tends to overthink everything and too much, you can kinda, like, go through a deep, bad rabbit hole of what you coulda did or what you could not or what you didn't do. And so I honestly, like, cope by just, like, accepting what has happened as what it was,
Mhm.
and, not, like, trying to, like, deny it or anything, but just accepting it, and then just seeing, like, how can I move forward from that? And I honestly think that that's the best way to be able to cope about anything that you may, like, regret or any mistakes in that way, because, like, at the end of the day, like, you can't change the past.
Yeah.
All you can do is, like, try to make better decisions for the future or just, like, try to do things differently, so I think that's probably the best way that I try to cope is just to try to turn it into something else, better, really.
Same. I have to accept it. That's how I cope. I have to accept, like, this is what it is, and
Mhm.
then I try to learn something from it, like, see where I could have done something different.
Yeah. I think something else that has helped me, like, cope with things is, like this might sound kinda crazy, but I think what has helped me is, like, actually, like, just taking responsibility for things and, like, not trying to, like, make it something that it wasn't, like, "Oh, well, this person coulda did this," or try to, like, blame it on someone
Mhm.
else, like and me just being like, "Hey, I had the decision. This is the decision that I made," and just,
Mhm.
like, accepting it and moving on from it that way too. That's
Yeah. Yeah. 100%, 'cause I feel like a lot of people try to blame other people for their mistakes or regrets in life, like, "Oh, if they woulda did this or if this woulda happened or" but it didn't. So
Yeah,
just
it
accept it.
didn't. And we can only control what we do, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
And kinda like giving yourself the power makes it like, okay, well, if it was in my control, then that means that I had the power to make it better the next
Mhm.
time. Versus if
Yeah.
you're just putting it on someone else, then you're also like giving someone else the ability to make the choice the next time.
Yeah.
So,
True. I think one thing for me that helps me to feel better about some regrets I have is remembering that, like, for me, God is in control of my life.
mhm,
And it just makes me feel better because then it's like, well, in some cases, I feel like if you wanted it to be different, you woulda made it different. You know what I'm saying? So it's
mhm.
like, because it's
Yeah,
literally like well, some stuff is literally just the choices we made. It's just we made those choices and, like, now we have regrets from stuff. But in some instance, to just remember, like, God is greater than me. So even
mhm.
in my mistake or my regret, like, he's gonna make it better. He's gonna turn it around.
Yeah,
'Cause, like, that girl going to jail, whoo child, she gonna need Jesus 'cause 3 years away from your child?
that's
Like
tough.
yeah, so
And she
I don't
didn't
know.
even do the act.
Nope.
Yeah.
Just made a dumb
Yeah.
decision.
I've, like, been repeating to myself, like, "God is gonna work this out for my good," like, no matter
Mhm.
how it looks like right now, in some way, He is going to, like, bring it all together, and
Mhm.
I guess, like, having hope too, that helps me, like,
Yeah.
cope. Just, like, having hope for the future and knowing that, like, your problems today, your worries today does not have to necessarily be what you're gonna be concerned or worried about the next day or even the next month or the next year. And just, like, knowing that, like, there's seasons for
Mhm.
everything. Like, it's fall right now, before we know it's gonna be winter, and just as the season changes, there's, like, gonna be changes of seasons in our lives, and
Mhm.
everything that we may, like, regret or don't like right now, it's not gonna, like, be always. And
Mhm.
you're not gonna even feel the same
Mhm.
way always about how you may even feel about it right now. So,
True. I always
just staying
remember
hopeful.
I always remember my mom said to she always says, "Today ain't always." And so I be thinking about that sometimes when I'm just, like, in a rut or, like, in a season where I'm like, "Ugh, I'm ready for it to be
Mhm,
over."
mhm.
But I feel like a lot of times when, like, things happen and, like, you can regret them, I feel like when it's, like, you dwell on them and kinda have, like, pity about them, it
Yeah.
doesn't help anything. But when you get
No.
into the mindset of, like, "Okay, there's nothing I can do about it, but what can I do now moving forward?"
Mhm.
It just, like, catapults you to, like, the next season, and I feel like it helps you in those seasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause
I
it's
and
literally I was gonna say it's literally a loss if you allow it to be a loss.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true. And you just gotta be expectant of the future. Yeah.
Mhm.
Honestly, the way I've been coping lately, I've been crying. Like,
Really?
yes, like, I've cried so much lately. However,
Mhm.
it's been so, like, you just, like, let it
Surface.
out.
Yeah.
I'll sit there, cry, let it out, send a quick little prayer up, and
Mhm.
I feel, like, so much better, and that doesn't mean that I don't feel like I might need to cry 2 hours later. If I
Mhm.
have to, I'll do it again.
Well, you do it
But
'cause you know the angels bottle up them tears and God got you.
yes, and it, like, literally, like, just makes me feel so much better. So I've been crying and praying, and
Mm,
that's been helping me cope.
I feel it. I'm the type of person, like, if I'm sad about a situation, I literally give myself an amount of time I could be sad about it, and then I'm
Mhm.
done with it. Which is probably not
I
the best thing, but
No, but honestly, I could see, like, yes and no, but I was, like, reading a devotional the other day, and it was like, give yourself time to grieve. Like,
Mhm.
whatever is going on, like, give yourself time to grieve, but at some point, you do have to move on.
Yeah.
So, I don't think that's bad to have that, Imma give myself
I do with
this time limit,
everything.
and then after that, like, I'm done.
Done. I did that with everything. I did that in my previous breakup. I gave myself a month because we were together for over a year. So I was like, "I think a
Mhm.
month is suffice." But I not, like, all day, every day, like, I would be, like, certain times of the day, like, I could be sad, and if I notice myself being sad at one point of the day, I'm like, "Okay, within the next hour, I gotta move on."
Mhm.
And then, like, after that month was over, I told myself, like, "I'm done with it." Like, wrote me a little journal entry, and then I just couldn't look back. Like, I couldn't, and I didn't, and I really didn't. And I feel like it was just in me having that authority over my emotions and telling
Mhm.
myself, like, "This is what I'm gonna do, and moving forward on the 1st of this month, I'm gonna be
Yeah,
happy, I'm gonna have joy, and that's just what it is." And I feel like God just acknowledged that and said, "Here
yeah.
you go," and gave me so much peace.
I
I
love how you
remember the
said
day too.
I love how you
Like,
said authority over your emotions because
yeah.
that is so true because, like, I know like, we do have emotions and we do feel and we do have to, like, allow ourselves to process and feel those things, but
Mhm.
we also do have, like, power and authority over like, you can do things to help pull you out, to
Mhm.
help you feel better, and to help you, like, carry on, like, you do not have to just sit in it
Right.
because you
You
do
really
have,
don't.
like, authority over your emotions.
You
So that was
really
so
do.
good. Mhm.
Yes, girl. I remember one day I was crying, and I was crying about the breakup, but I was
Mhm.
praying while I cried because I do that. If I'm crying, I'm praying while I'm crying. And I remember I prayed, I said, "God, I need, like, peace and comfort, and when I get up from this prayer and this cry session, I don't wanna
Mhm.
think about it no more." And I promise you, literally, it sounds crazy, but literally, like, I wasn't the same after that day, that moment. Like, I
Mhm.
literally laid it at God's feet, and I was just I have so much peace about it, and I feel
Yeah.
like after that is when I started to realize certain things. I started to grow in my character and in just myself, and I just
Mhm.
felt a sense of relief, and I feel like no matter what the regret is, if you can just come to that moment of being like, "I do have authority over my emotions, and I've
Mhm.
given myself time to grieve, and now it's time to, like, move forward,"
Mhm.
you can do it. But and if you
Yeah.
don't tell yourself like, "Okay, I'm gonna move forward," you're gonna stay stuck.
And you do
Literally.
not wanna stay stuck. If you stay stuck, like, you're not allowing yourself to receive whatever it is on the other end of on the other
Right,
side of it.
right.
Like, you do not wanna stay stuck.
You
Mm-mm.
really don't. 'Cause, I refuse to be stuck, baby. I'm not gonna be first of all, I'm not gonna be stuck on one man for about 5, 10 years. No, ma'am.
And there's people that do.
Yeah. Yeah, there really is. But whether it's a man or, I don't know, money, a job, a friendship, like
Anything.
anything, yeah, you don't wanna just stay stuck on that regret because 'cause it'll keep you stuck in that moment in time, that
Mhm.
season,
Mhm.
and you can't accept something new if you're still holding on to something
Yeah.
old.
Yeah. Do you think your regrets or mistakes stem from expectations from others or expectations from yourself?
Um, for me, it's mostly from others.
Mhm.
But also expectations from myself, but I guess both, but more so I'm disappointed when I expect myself from other people and I don't get that, and then it causes regret or feeling like, "Oh, I made a mistake, I shouldn't have done that."
Yeah. I would say for me, it's probably, like, expectations from myself, I think. Yeah.
Mhm,
You know how they say you can be your what, worst critic or something
mhm,
like that? Something like that.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're your
I think
biggest critic.
yeah, something like that. I think I really am, and most of my regrets and mistakes come from myself. I'd be having to, like, "Girl, do not beat yourself up," because I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, don't do that, 'cause that'll make you sad. I'll be having to tell myself, like, if I feel like, say I made a mistake at something at work or whatever, and I just feel like, "Dang, that was dumb," and I'll be telling myself, "God, take away the dumbness and give me wisdom." Like, and I have to say that, like, my portion is wisdom, I'm wise,
Mhm,
because you will get into that, like, mindset where you start to, like, doubt yourself all the time,
mhm.
and then, of course, if you're doubting yourself, the enemy's gonna feed off of it and give you more thoughts, and you're just gonna continue into
Yeah,
that cycle. So I have to, like, tell myself, like, I don't know, like, say I don't know. I don't think I think of as being dumb. Like, I'm not dumb, I'm wise, you know?
yeah, yeah. Combating it with something different.
Right. What is a mistake you think you can't come back from? just in general, like a mistake someone can't come back from.
Like, in general, like, not just myself, just
Yeah.
a mistake anyone couldn't come back from?
Mhm. Unless you
Um,
have one for yourself.
no, I don't think I have any. I mean, I'm here today, so
Yeah.
um, sheesh. That's a tough one. I mean,
Yeah.
is there anything you really can't come back from?
Um, so when I wrote this question, I was thinking about the men. Well, really, I was thinking about the girl that went to jail, and then I was thinking about them. The what do you call them? The Park Five or whatever. The young guys that got locked up for a good bit of their life for something they didn't do.
Yeah,
Which I know that's not like a regret because it's not their fault, but
yeah. So that makes me think of, being in the what is it? Gosh, I never know these little sayings. What is it? The right place? Being
oh, the
around
wrong place, being in the wrong place at the right time or something. The right place,
Yeah.
the wrong time, whatever it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one of those. Though, like, that is something that is sometimes hard to come back from
Mhm.
with a lot of things.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's what I was thinking of when I wrote it. Honestly, I don't feel like it's too much you just kinda can't come back from. Even when you think
Mhm,
about people that get divorced later on in life, like they were married for like 20, 30 years and it's like, "Oh
mhm,
my gosh, I gotta start all over." I feel like you can still come back from it. It's
mhm.
unfortunate, but you still
Yeah.
can.
And then I started thinking bankruptcy, but people come back from bankruptcy
Yeah.
all the
People
time.
be using that to their advantage. Yeah.
That
There's
is
a lot
so
you can come
true.
back from.
It is. As long as you just have to be wise enough to be able
Mhm.
to.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's hard, but if you have the will and the wisdom, you can.
Yeah.
How have you still been hopeful when your expectations are not met?
Ooh, that's a good one. When my expectations aren't met for me, I'm hopeful because I literally have hope in God.
Mhm,
And so I just feel like if my expectations weren't met, it's a reason for it. Like
mhm,
whether it's for me to realize something about myself or for me to like walk away from a situation or to cause me to develop better with my character.
mhm.
So, what was the question again?
Um, how have you still been hopeful when your expectations are not met?
Yeah, that's how I've been hopeful.
Mhm,
I don't know. I just have this like great peace about life right now.
mhm.
And I just feel like,
I need you to, give me some.
oh, really? So, you know what helped me? And I'm going to tell you literally because I was at a point where I was just really doubtful and I was doubting myself and my choices and just
Mhm.
life. And what gave me so much peace in life, I read the book of Luke. And
Really?
I've read it before. Yeah, I've read it before. I haven't read it for, like, before from start to finish, but I've read, like, different chapters. But I literally
Mhm,
just devoted a month to reading that book every day, like
mhm.
a chapter, 2 chapters, whatever, I was doing that. And I feel like reading that book really changed my perspective of life because it really does allow you to see the perspective of God and see Jesus'
Yeah,
character. And one thing in that book that really got to me was Jesus knowing, like being all knowing. He knew like a lot of the miracles he was performing, he knew them people like how them people were before, still kind to them, still performing miracles. It was like he just wanted the best for everybody, no matter their heart and the type of person that they were. And me
yeah,
knowing that I have a relationship with God and knowing that my heart I'm praying my heart is pure towards him and that I know that I love him, I know that it's even much greater for me. Like he wants the absolute best for me. So that gives me peace
yeah,
because it's like I know he's genuinely good and nothing about him is meant to like destroy me. I have peace because I know like his intentions towards me are good. And
yeah,
knowing that like it doesn't matter what I do to an extent, because I'm still his child though, but it doesn't matter like what mistakes I make, something that I think like I would have messed up in life. it's not surprising to God. Like, he knew it was gonna happen. He's sovereign. So he knew the beginning from the end, and he knew that I was gonna make the choices that I made, and
Mhm.
in that, he still allowed me to make it. So I feel
Mhm.
like if my life is in his hands and he allowed me to make a decision, because there are times where the people realize it or not, where God just will not allow you to do something. Like, it just won't happen. You'll be like, "Oh, I'm gonna go buy this car," and everything goes wrong. You can't buy that car. God blocked it. He didn't want you to do it for whatever reason, and it was a reason behind it. I can remember, and this is getting into my parents' business, but I'm sure they won't mind. I remember when we moved to Alabama and we were gonna purchase a home, right? And it was, like, the day of. We were supposed to, like, get the home, and, like, we just for whatever reason, we couldn't, and I was young, so I don't know too much that was going on with it, but we couldn't. I remember my mom telling me about it. Literally, there was another house that she wanted, like, she wanted that house, but the house that we were gonna get was basically her settling, like, they said,
Mhm.
"We can get it, so we're gonna go ahead and get it." I promise you, God blocked that. Like, the day of, we couldn't get the house, and we ended up getting the house that she wanted. Like, that was God. So, that for me, like, knowing certain things like that that's happened with my parents and just reading in the scripture the way that Jesus was and his character was, I just know that he wants the best for us. And so,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times we're in seasons longer than we have to be, and it's because of our heart and our mindset. And it's like once you get into your word, get into your prayer closet, and you talk to God, and you're just like, God, what is it that you want me to get from this? What is it that I need to learn in this season? I promise you, He'll reveal it. And as soon as that happens, it's like your season will change. And that's like
Mhm.
like with me with my previous season I was in. Like, I literally did that. I was like, God, what do I need to get from this season? Because I'm not liking it, and I don't want to be here any longer than I have to. And
Yeah.
I literally woke up one night, middle of the night, was, like, put to a scripture. I read that scripture, and I literally like, that was the moment where I got it, like, this is what God wants me to get from this time. And I
Yeah.
felt like things kinda changed after that. And so that's why I have so much peace when things happen, because I just feel like God's my dad. Like, it's happening for a reason, and he's with me through it all. And I
Yeah.
I get excited because I know, like, if something is happening, God's working. And if it's not
Yeah.
good yet, he's not done. I heard somebody
He's
say
not
that. I just said
done.
that.
I've heard
Right.
that before too.
So that's what gives me, like, to answer your question,
Hope.
for some reason, I can't remember. Yeah, hope.
I think that was it. Shoot, I forgot. How have you still been hopeful when your expectations are not met? But
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
my
would
favorite.
I would say my, like, if I did not have faith, if
Mm,
I did not have Jesus Christ, Lord
yeah.
and Savior, I don't know
Mhm.
how I would, like, be hopeful when things do not go my way or are, like, upside down. Like, I literally do not know. Like, sometimes
Mhm.
I, like, just sit back and think, like, at this point in my life, these young 26 years of my life, I would probably be somewhere crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I would probably be somewhere crazy if it wasn't for the Lord.
Mhm.
But, you said you read Luke. I've been in Exodus. I've, like, devoting myself to read all of the Old Testament because I don't believe that I've had. Um,
Me either. I stopped at Genesis, and then I skipped around.
so I'm, like, trying to go through the Old Testament. Um, and I was listening to TD Jakes yesterday, and he was talking about how, like, Moses leading the Israelites from out of Egypt, and
Mhm.
how a lot of times, like, we can, like, look at our hard, like, seasons or, like, when something hard is, like, happening and we don't, like, understand, like, why how long this is taking or, like, why this is happening, um, how a lot of times it could just be, like, foundations for us, and how, like, even through, like, scripture, it's kinda reference going back to, "Oh, well, remember when Moses led them out of Egypt," and just thinking that sometimes, like, our hard moments, once we, like, get through it and once we, like, see the faithfulness of God through it, it's, like, just gonna be another time for us to look back and be like, "Okay, Lord, if you did it then I know that you'll bring me through again."
Mhm.
So, like, I've just been kinda, like, remembering that, like, when, like, my expectations are not met or when I just need a little hope that, like, if he did it before, he can do it
Do
again.
it
Like, the
again.
same God and the scriptures that was showing up for all of the names that we know and all the miracles and stuff
Mhm.
that he did, like, if he did it before, he can do it again, and I feel like that itself, like, gives me hope when my expectations are not met. Because
Yeah.
if this expectation is not met, then surely he's, like, just working on something else.
Right.
'Cause I honestly and truthfully don't believe that, like, God just wants us to be sad, unhappy, just,
No,
like,
me either.
here.
Mhm.
That's just not one of my beliefs, so I just believe that if it is something like mistakes, things that we regret, um, at the end of the day, like, if you, like, believe in God and you're following him and, like, you, like, just believe his word, really, I don't think that, like, he just, like, wants us to be sad and unhappy all the time. Like, I think he's, like,
Mhm.
very intentional, and the things that we go through, he's gonna, like, work it out for our good if we
Absolutely.
allow him to.
Yeah, if we allow him. And I feel like the number one, step in that is obedience. Just being
Mhm.
obedient in whatever season you're in.
Yeah.
'Cause I feel like sometimes we can get in a season and just be like, "Oh, we're waiting on God, like, when are you gonna do something?" But we just have to be obedient, and I feel like a lot of the times the obedience is literally just reading your word and praying, seeking his
Mhm.
face. That's all you gotta
Mhm.
do, and then
Yeah.
he'll start to speak to you, show you things, and start moving on your behalf. But it's
Yeah.
like, how can he take you to the next season if you're gonna embarrass him there? So you gotta make sure you're ready.
You gotta make sure he can trust you.
Right, literally. And do you think all mistakes are lessons or meant to be lessons?
I don't think all mistakes are meant to be
Oh, you
lessons.
don't?
I don't really I don't know, Bree, because I'm just kinda like I guess in hindsight, yes,
Mhm.
right? But no. In hindsight, yes, I mean, I guess you learned something out of it, but did you really have to, like
Yeah,
did
you
you
probably didn't
really
have to go through it.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the only thing that makes me think, is maybe not."
Yeah. I feel like they are. You may have not had to go through it, but then I feel like when you really think about it, you probably did have to go through it. Like, you made a dumb decision. Like, yeah, ultimately you didn't have to because you could have made a different decision,
Mhm.
but I feel like the decision was made so that you could learn something. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. And you would not have made that decision had you I mean, we can always say, "Well, had you can always say, "I knew better, but I just chose not to." However, even if you did choose not to, it's kinda like you really didn't know better because because
Yeah.
you still had to learn by
Mhm.
making the wrong choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I guess I could see that answer, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you all so much for tuning into this episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we hope to see you in the next one.
Where are you
Bye.
going, sweetie? Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well as head on over to our lovely TikTok at CuteConvos and don't forget to follow. See you next time.